The baby wasn't breathing. Marcus Reaper Stone's tattooed hands moved with surgical precision, his fingers pressing against the infant's tiny back. One thrust, two. The child's lips were turning blue under the merciless Arizona sun. Please. The little girl sobbed beside him. Her voice cracked from screaming. Please don't let Noah die. Two. Marcus' eyes shot to the overturned sedan. Through the shattered windshield, he saw her. The woman slumped over the steering wheel, unnaturally still. His breath caught. Even through the blood and dust, he recognized that face. Sarah. His Sarah from 30 years ago. The baby gasped, coughed, screamed, but Sarah didn't move. Before we continue, please subscribe to our channel and watch this story until the very end. Comment below which city you're watching from so we can see how far this incredible journey reaches. Now, back to what happened next. Marcus had seen death before in Fallujah, in Kandahar, in a dozen places whose names he tried to forget along with everything else about who he used to be. But nothing, not the improvised explosives, not the firefights, not even the court-martial that destroyed his life, had prepared him for the sight of Sarah Chen's lifeless body in that crumpled Honda Civic. The baby in his arms wailed, his tiny fists beating against Marcus' leather vest, the desert wolf's patch on his back, a snarling wolf's head surrounded by flames, seemed to mock him. What was a man like him doing holding something so innocent, so pure? Is she sleeping? The little girl's voice cut through his paralysis. She couldn't have been more than 8, with Sarah's dark eyes and delicate features. Dust caked her face, turning her tears into muddy rivulets. My mama, is she just sleeping? Marcus looked at her. This child, who was trying so hard to be brave, and felt something crack inside his chest. What's your name, sweetheart? His voice came out rougher than he intended. Lily. She wiped her nose with the back of her hand. Lily Chen. That's my brother Noah. He's 6 months old. Mama said we were almost to Grandma's house in Tucson. But then the tire exploded, and we went off the road and Mama won't wake up, and Noah was choking and I didn't know what to do. Lily. Marcus knelt down, still holding Noah against his chest. The baby had stopped crying, exhausted. Lily, look at me. She did, her whole body shaking. I need you to be very brave right now. Can you do that? She nodded, but her chin trembled. I'm going to call for help. The ambulance will be here soon. But first, I need to check on your mama. Can you hold Noah for me? I've been holding him 4 hours. Her voice broke. My arms hurt so bad, but I couldn't put him down. The road is too hot, and there's broken glass everywhere. And I thought if I could just wave down a car, someone would stop. But nobody stopped. Nobody stopped until you. She dissolved into sobs. Marcus pulled her against his side with his free arm. This strange little family huddled together beside a wrecked car, the middle of nowhere. You did good, Lily. You kept your brother alive. You're the bravest person I've met in a long time. He meant it. In his 20 years with the desert wolves, he'd seen grown men crumble under pressure. This little girl had held herself together through something that would have broken most adults. Marcus pulled out his phone with one hand. Noah still cradled against him. No signal, of course not. They were 15 miles from the nearest town in a dead zone where even the coyotes thought twice about venturing. Lily, I'm going to put Noah in your arms for just a minute. I need to check the car. She took her brother with trembling hands, settling cross-legged on the ground, despite the scorching asphalt radiating heat like a furnace. Marcus approached the sedan. The front end was crumpled against a boulder. The driver's side door jammed shut. He went around to the passenger side, broken glass crunching under his boots. The smell hit him first. Blood, gasoline, and something else. Something final. Sarah, he whispered, reaching through the broken window to touch her neck. Her skin was already cooling in the heat, which told him everything he needed to know. She'd been gone 4 hours, probably died on impact. The miracle was that the children had survived at all. His hand shook as he pulled it back. Sarah Martinez, who'd sat next to him in chemistry class, who'd kissed him under the bleachers after the homecoming game. who'd cried when he told her he was enlisting. Sarah Martinez, who'd written him letters every week during basic training until the day he deployed. And then nothing. He'd thought she'd forgotten him, moved on, found someone better. Sarah Chen, now she'd gotten married, had kids, built a life without him. Is she okay? Lily called out. Can you wake her up? Marcus closed his eyes. This was not a conversation he knew how to have. The army had trained him to breach doors and neutralize threats, not to tell a little girl that her mother was dead. He turned back to find Lily standing now, no on her hip, despite how much she must have weighed. Her face held a knowledge beyond her years, a terrible understanding that she was trying desperately not to accept. She's gone, isn't she? Lily's voice was small, hollow, like Daddy said she would be. He said Mama would get us killed one day with her running away. And he was right. Marcus's jaw tightened. Your daddy said that. Daddy says lots of things. Lily looked down at Noah, who was gnawing on his fist, oblivious. Mostly mean things. That's why we ran away. Mama said we'd be safe at Grandma's, she promised. Before Marcus could respond, the sound of an engine made them both turn. A white pickup truck was pulling over. A moment later, a woman in her 60s jumped out. She wore a sun hat and carried a cell phone. Oh my God, she gasped, taking in the scene. I saw the skid marks from the road. Are you all okay? I'm calling 911 right now. No signal out here, Marcus said. But if you drive back about 5 miles, you should be able to get through. The woman looked at him, really looked at him, and he saw the exact moment her expression changed. The desert wolves patch, the tattoos crawling up his neck, the scar bisecting his left eyebrow. She clutched her phone tighter. Maybe I should take the children with me, she said carefully. To the hospital. You can wait here for the police. Lily moved closer to Marcus, and Noah reached out a chubby hand toward his vest. Ma'am, you need to go get help, Marcus said evenly. The mother in that vehicle is deceased. These children need medical attention. Every minute counts. I just think. The woman's eyes darted between him and the kids. Maybe it's better if, Carol, a man's voice called from the truck. An elderly man leaned out. What's going on? There's been an accident, Frank. Then Lily's voice rang out clear and strong. This man saved my brother's life. Noah was choking. And this man made him breathe again. And he's not leaving us with strangers. The elderly couple exchanged glances. Frank got out of the truck slowly, his weathered face taking in the situation with more wisdom than his wife's panic. Son, he said to Marcus, you prior service? The question caught Marcus off guard. Yes, sir. Army Ranger, 3rd Battalion. Frank nodded slowly. Thought so. My boy was 75th Regiment. I know the look. He turned to his wife. Carol, get to where you have signal and call this in. This man's got things under control here. Carol hesitated, but eventually got back in the truck. They watched it disappear down the highway. Thank you, Marcus said quietly. Frank shrugged. Easy to judge a book by its cover. Harder to read what's inside. He looked at the wreckage, then at the children. The mother gone, and these kids got nobody else. Lily spoke up before Marcus could answer. We have Grandma in Tucson. Mama was taking us there. We were running away from Daddy. He's mean. He hurts people. Frank's expression darkened. Well, that complicates things. It took 40 minutes for the ambulance and police to arrive. 40 minutes of Lily sitting pressed against Marcus's side, Noah dozing fitfully in her arms. 40 minutes of Marcus trying not to think about Sarah's face, frozen in that last moment of terror as the car went off the road. The paramedics were professional, efficient. They checked over both children, declared them miraculously uninjured, except for dehydration and minor cuts. They loaded Sarah's body into a separate vehicle, shielding it from Lily's view with a white sheet. But Lily knew. She buried her face against Marcus's arm as they wheeled her mother away. Sheriff Rita Morales arrived in a dust-covered SUV, her dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. She was 50-some with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She took one look at Marcus, and her hand moved instinctively toward her weapon. Step away from the children, sir. He saved Noah. Lily protested. "He saved my brother." "I understand that, honey, but I need to speak with this gentleman. Why don't you sit in the ambulance with the nice paramedic?" "No." Lily's grip on Marcus tightened. "Don't make me go. Please don't make me go." Sheriff Morales's expression softened slightly, but her stance didn't change. "Sir, I'm going to need to see some identification." Marcus slowly reached into his vest pocket, moving deliberately so she wouldn't spook. He handed over his driver's license. "Marcus Stone," she read aloud. Then her eyes widened slightly. "Reaper Stone, Desert Wolves MC, former," Marcus said quietly. "I left the club 2 years ago. Left or kicked out. Does it matter when there are children involved?" "Yeah, it matters a whole lot." She studied his license, then looked back at the wreckage. "Want to tell me what happened here?" Marcus recounted it all. Finding the children, the choking baby, checking on Sarah. He left out the part about knowing her. That was a complication he wasn't ready to explain. Sheriff Morales listened, taking notes. Then she made a phone call, speaking in low tones that Marcus couldn't quite hear. When she hung up, her expression was troubled. "Child Protective Services is sending someone out. Given the circumstances, they'll need to take temporary custody of the children until we can locate next of kin." "No." Lily's scream pierced the air. She launched herself at Marcus, wrapping her arms around his waist. "No, no, no. Don't let them take us, please. Mama said never trust the government people. They'll send us back to Daddy. Please." Marcus froze, his hands hovering over her shaking shoulders. Noah started crying, too, feeding off his sister's distress. Sheriff Morales sighed. "Lily, honey, nobody's sending you back to anyone who hurt you. We just need to find your grandmother." "I don't know where she is," Lily sobbed. "Mama just said Tucson, but there's lots of Tucson, and I don't know the address, and Daddy's going to find us, and he's going to be so mad that Mama took us away." The paramedic approached cautiously. "Sheriff, the girl's blood pressure is spiking. She's going into a panic attack. We need to calm her down." Marcus made a decision that would change all their lives. He knelt down and gently turned Lily to face him. "Lily, look at me. Look at me, sweetheart." She did, her eyes wild with terror. "I won't let anyone hurt you. You or Noah. You understand me? I promise." "You can't promise that," Sheriff Morales said sharply. "Sir, you need to." "I was there when her mother died," Marcus said, not taking his eyes off Lily. "That makes me the last person Sarah trusted with her children. I'm not walking away from that responsibility. You don't have legal standing." "Then give me some." He looked up at the sheriff. "Emergency custody, 48 hours, however it works. These kids just lost their mother. They're terrified. Let me keep them safe, while you sort out the rest." Sheriff Morales stared at him like he'd grown a second head. "You're a former outlaw biker with a record that I paid my debt for. I've been clean for 2 years. I have a job, a home, no outstanding warrants." His voice hardened. "And most importantly, these children trust me. Look at them." Lily had stopped crying, her face pressed against his chest. Noah had reached out and grabbed a fistful of Marcus's beard, holding on like it was a lifeline. The sheriff looked at the children, then at Marcus, then pulled out her phone again. This conversation lasted longer, with more arguing on her end. Finally, she hung up. "CPS is willing to grant emergency temporary custody for 72 hours, while they investigate." She held up a hand as relief flooded Marcus's face. "You'll be under supervision. I'll be personally checking in. Any sign of trouble, any indication that those kids aren't safe, and they're gone." "Understood." "Yes, ma'am. And we'll be running a full background check. If there's anything in your past you're not telling me." "There's plenty in my past," Marcus interrupted. "None of it involves hurting children." Sheriff Morales didn't look convinced, but she nodded. "The grandmother. We need to find her." "Chen," Lily said quietly, her voice muffled against Marcus's shirt. "Grandma Rose Chen. But I don't know more than that. We'll find her," the sheriff promised. "In the meantime, Mr. Stone, you're officially responsible for these children. Don't make me regret this." An hour later, Marcus pulled into the gravel driveway of his trailer with 2 children who weren't his, who would never be his, but who somehow felt like the most important thing he'd ever been entrusted with. The trailer was exactly what you'd expect from a former biker living alone. Basic, worn, and definitely not child-proofed. Motorcycle parts cluttered one corner. Empty beer bottles lined the counter from last night. A poster of a Holly Davidson hung on one wall. Lily looked around with wide eyes. Noah had fallen asleep in the car seat that the paramedics had somehow produced, his thumb in his mouth. "It's not much," Marcus started. "It's better than the car," Lily said simply. Then, quieter, "Is Mama really gone?" Marcus had been dreading this question. He'd hoped to have more time to figure out the right words. But standing in his shabby trailer, with this little girl looking up at him with Sarah's eyes, he realized there were no right words. "Yeah, sweetheart. She's really gone." Lily nodded slowly, like she'd known all along but needed to hear it confirmed. "She told me to be strong for Noah right before the crash. The tire exploded, and she was trying to control the car, and she looked back at me and said, 'Take care of your brother, Lily. No matter what happens, you take care of him.'" Like she knew. Her voice cracked on the last word. And then she was crying again, but quietly this time. The kind of crying that came from somewhere so deep, it said no sound. Marcus did the only thing he could think of. He picked her up. This little girl who was trying so hard to be brave, and held her while she cried for her mother. And if a few tears fell from his own eyes and disappeared into her dusty hair, well, nobody needed to know that Noah woke up screaming around midnight. Marcus jerked awake from the couch where he'd been dozing, his heart pounding. For a confused second, he was back in Afghanistan. The screaming was incoming mortar, and he needed to move. Then he remembered the children. He found Lily in the small bedroom, trying to calm Noah. But the baby was having none of it. His face was red, his little fist flailing. "I can't make him stop," Lily said desperately. "He wants Mama. He keeps crying for Mama." Marcus picked up Noah, and the baby immediately grabbed his beard, still screaming. Marcus walked, bounced, made shushing sounds he'd never made in his life. Nothing worked. "Does he need a bottle?" Marcus asked. "We don't have any formula." Lily's voice was small. "The store was closed when we got here, right? Because it was nearly 1 o'clock in the morning, and Dusty Ridge rolled up the sidewalks at 8 p.m. Okay, Marcus said, thinking fast. "There's a 24-hour truck stop about 30 miles from here. They should have baby stuff. Can you watch him for 20 minutes while I don't leave us?" Lily's panic was immediate, visceral. "Please don't leave us alone." Marcus looked at the terrified little girl, at the screaming baby, and made another decision he wasn't qualified to make. "Get your shoes on. We're all going." The truck stop's fluorescent lights were harsh after the desert darkness. Marcus pushed a shopping cart through the nearly empty aisles, Lily walking close beside him, Noah still crying in his arms. The night clerk, a woman in her 60s with bleached blonde hair and too much eyeliner, watched them approach with undisguised suspicion. "Need formula," Marcus said curtly. "And diapers. Size." He looked at Lily helplessly. 3, she supplied. "And we need the sensitive formula. Noah has a bad tummy." Marcus grabbed 3 containers of formula, a pack of diapers, baby wipes, and on impulse, a stuffed teddy bear. At the register, he counted out cash from his wallet, money he'd been saving for a new carburetor for his bike. The bike could wait. The clerk rang up the items slowly, her eyes never leaving the children. "Those your kids?" "Yes." Marcus lied smoothly. "Funny, never seen you with kids before." "Funny how that's none of your business." Her eyes narrowed, but she bagged the items. As Marcus turned to leave, he heard her pick up the phone. Back in the truck, he mixed a bottle with one hand while driving, following the instructions Lily read from the formula container. It wasn't pretty, but Noah didn't care. The baby latched onto the bottle like he was starving, which Marcus realized with a stab of guilt. He probably was by the time they got back to the trailer. Noah was milk drunk and dozing, and Lily was asleep against the window. Marcus carried them both inside, laying Lily on his bed, and creating a nest of pillows on the floor for Noah. He'd just settled back on the couch when headlights swept across his windows. Sheriff Morales's SUV. Marcus opened the door before she could knock. The sheriff looked tired, frustrated, and deeply suspicious. Got a call from Betty at the truck stop. Said a dangerous-looking biker was buying baby supplies at 1 a.m. Thought I should check it out. The baby needed formula. You could have called me. We could have brought supplies. At 1 o'clock in the morning, while a 6-month-old screamed his head off. Marcus shook his head. I handled it. Sheriff Morales looked past him into the trailer, seeing the sleeping children. Her expression softened fractionally. We found the grandmother. Marcus's stomach dropped. She died 3 months ago. Heart attack. The sheriff's voice was gentle, delivering bad news. There's no one else. Sarah was an only child. Parents both dead. No extended family we can find. What about the father? That's complicated. Sheriff Morales pulled out a notebook. Vincent Chen. Sarah divorced him 5 years ago. Got a restraining order. Cited domestic violence, threats, stalking. He's supposed to have no contact with the children. Supposed to. He's got money. Lots of it. Tech executive in Seattle. The kind of money that makes restraining orders flexible. She looked at Marcus squarely. The kind of money that gets you good lawyers. If he finds out about Sarah's death, if he decides he wants those kids, he abandoned them, Marcus growled. Lily said he told Sarah she'd get them killed. Unfortunately, that's hearsay from an 8-year-old. On paper, he's their biological father with no criminal convictions. Sarah took the kids and ran, which technically violates the custody agreement. She was running for their lives. I believe you. I believe Lily. But the law doesn't work on belief, Mr. Stone. It works on evidence. Sheriff Morales sighed. We're going to notify him of Sarah's death. We have to, legally. What he does after, that is up to him. But I wanted you to know what you might be facing. After she left, Marcus stood in the dark trailer, listening to the children breathe. Sarah's children. Sarah, who he'd loved a lifetime ago. Sarah, who'd apparently spent the last years of her life running from a man who hurt her. He thought about his discharge papers, locked in a box under his bed. Dishonorable. Stripped of his rank, his benefits, his honor. All because he'd refused to lie about children killed by American fire. Because he'd hit an officer who ordered him to falsify reports. He'd been protecting children then, too, in his own stupid, destructive way. Some habits die hard. In the darkness, Marcus made a promise to a dead woman he'd once loved, and to 2 children who dropped into his life like a bomb. Nobody was going to hurt these kids. Not Vincent Chen. Not the system. Not anyone. Even if it destroyed him in the process. The morning sun hit Marcus's face through the thin trailer curtains, and for a blissful moment, he forgot everything. Then he heard it. The soft sound of a child crying. Not Noah. Lily. He found her in the bathroom, sitting on the closed toilet lid, her face buried in her hands. Her whole body shook with silent sobs. She was trying desperately to muffle. Lily. She looked up, her eyes red and swollen. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wake you. I just... Her voice broke. I forgot, just for a minute. When I woke up, I forgot Mama was gone, and I went to tell her about the dream I had. And then I remembered. Marcus knelt down in front of her. This broken little girl trying so hard to hold herself together. You don't have to be sorry for missing your mama, but you need me to be strong for Noah, Mama said. Your mama wanted you to take care of your brother. Yeah, but you're 8 years old. Lily, you're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to cry. He paused. In fact, I think your mama would want you to cry. Holding it all in just makes it hurt worse. How do you know? Because I spent 20 years trying not to feel anything, Marcus admitted. Didn't work out so great. Lily studied his face with those 2 wise eyes. Is that why you have sad eyes? My mama had sad eyes too sometimes. The observation hit him harder than he expected. Yeah, sweetheart. That's why, from the bedroom, Noah started fussing. Lily immediately wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself. I should get him. I'll get him. Marcus stood. You take a shower. Wash your face. We're going shopping today. For what? Everything. Clothes that fit. Toys, car seats, beds, whatever you and Noah need. That costs money. I have money. Marcus looked at her seriously. Lily, I'm going to tell you something important, okay? For as long as you're with me, however long that is, you don't have to worry about money or food or having what you need. That's my job now. Your job is to be 8 years old, deal? She nodded slowly, and for the first time since he'd found her on that road, he saw something that looked almost like hope in her eyes. It disappeared the moment they stepped outside. A black Mercedes was parked across from his trailer, engine running. The windows were tinted, but Marcus could feel eyes watching them. He stepped in front of the children instinctively, his body blocking theirs. The driver's window rolled down, revealing a man in his 40s with sharp features and even sharper eyes. He wore an expensive suit that looked absurdly out of place in the dusty trailer park. "You must be Marcus Stone," the man said with a cold smile. "I'm Vincent Chen. I believe you have something that belongs to me." Behind Marcus, he heard Lily's sharp intake of breath, felt her small hand grip the back of his shirt. The moment he'd been dreading had arrived much sooner than expected, and from the look in Vincent Chen's eyes, this was going to be a fight. Marcus felt Lily's fingers dig into his shirt, her whole body going rigid behind him. Noah, sensing the tension, started to whimper in his arms. "They don't belong to anyone," Marcus said quietly, his voice carrying a warning that anyone with sense would heed. "They're children, not property." Vincent Chen stepped out of the Mercedes, his Italian leather shoes crunching on the gravel. Up close, Marcus could see the carefully maintained tan, the expensive haircut, the Rolex that probably cost more than Marcus's entire trailer. But he could also see something else, a tightness around the eyes, a practiced smile that never reached them. Semantics. Vincent waved a dismissive hand. "I'm their father. Sarah is dead. Legally, they come to me." "No." Lily's scream was raw, primal. She pressed herself against Marcus's back. "No, no, no. You can't make us go with him." Vincent's jaw tightened, the mask slipping for just a second. Marcus saw it, the flash of anger of a man who didn't like being told no. "Lily, sweetheart, I know you're upset about your mother, but this man is a stranger. I'm your father. I'm here to take you home. You're not my father." Lily's voice cracked. "Fathers don't hurt their families. Fathers don't make their wives cry every night. Fathers don't. That's enough." Vincent's voice turned sharp, cold. He looked at Marcus. "I don't know what lies Sarah filled her head with, but they're coming with me now." Marcus shifted Noah to his other arm, putting more of his body between Vincent's and the children. "You got any custody papers?" "I don't need custody papers. I'm their biological father." Funny thing about biology, doesn't mean much when there's a restraining order involved. Vincent's eyes narrowed. "That order died with Sarah. My lawyer confirmed it this morning. So, unless you want to be charged with kidnapping, I suggest you hand over my children. Your children that you abandoned, that you told Sarah would get themselves killed." "Who told you that?" "An 8-year-old. Vincent laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Children have vivid imaginations, Mr. Stone, especially when they've been poisoned against a parent." Marcus felt Lily trembling against his back, heard her trying to stifle her sobs. Something dark and dangerous stirred in his chest, the part of him that the army had trained, that the desert wolves had honed, that he'd spent 2 years trying to bury. "Get off my property." "Excuse me." "You heard me. These children are in my legal custody for the next 72 hours, courtesy of Child Protective Services and Sheriff Morales. You got a problem with that? Take it up with them." Vincent's composure cracked further. "You think some small-town sheriff and a temporary custody order will stop me? I have lawyers who eat people like you for breakfast. By this time tomorrow, those children will be in Seattle with me, and you'll be in a cell for interfering with parental rights." "Maybe." Marcus's voice was deadly calm. "But that's tomorrow. Today they're with me. Today they're safe. So, like I said, get off my property." For a long moment, Vincent just stared at him. Marcus had faced down insurgents, rival gang members, men with guns and bad intentions. He didn't blink. Finally, Vincent pulled out his phone. This isn't over. Not even close. He got back in his Mercedes, tires spitting gravel as he peeled out. Marcus didn't move until the car disappeared from view. Then his knees almost buckled. He'd just made an enemy of a man with money and power. Exactly the kind of fight he couldn't win. Lily's arms wrapped around his waist from behind, squeezing tight. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Marcus turned carefully, shifting Noah so he could put one arm around her. "I need you to tell me the truth, Lily, everything about your father. Can you do that?" She nodded against his chest, but he could feel her shaking. Inside the trailer, Marcus sat Noah down in the makeshift playpen he'd created with couch cushions. Lily sat on the edge of the bed, her hands twisting in her lap. "He used to hit Mama," she said without preamble, her voice flat, mechanical. "Not where people could see. Stomach, back, arms, places her clothes would cover." She thought I didn't know, but I heard. I heard her crying in the bathroom. I heard him telling her she was worthless, that she was lucky. He even wanted her. Marcus's hands clenched into fists, but he kept his voice gentle. "Did he ever hit you?" "No, he never hit me." She paused. "But he'd grab Mama's arm and squeeze so hard she'd have bruises for weeks. And he'd make me watch," he said. "See what happens to people who disobey me, Lily. See what happens to people who make me angry." I was only 5, but I understood. I understood that if I wasn't perfect, if I wasn't quiet, if I wasn't exactly what he wanted, Mama would pay for it. Noah made a happy gurgling sound from his cushion fort, completely oblivious to the horror his sister was describing. The contrast was obscene. "When did your mama leave him?" 3 years ago. I was 5, almost 6. She packed our stuff while he was at work and we ran. We lived in 7 different cities in 3 years. Every time Mama thought he'd found us, we'd move again. Lily's voice started to shake. She was so tired all the time, working 2 jobs, trying to keep us hidden. She'd cry at night when she thought I was asleep. She'd say, "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry you have to live like this." But I wasn't sorry. I was happy because Mama wasn't being hurt anymore. The restraining order. He broke it all the time. He'd send emails from fake accounts, leave messages on phones he wasn't supposed to have the number to. Once he followed us to my school. The police didn't do anything because he said he just wanted to see his daughter. After that, Mama homeschooled me. Lily looked up, her eyes haunted. We were on our way to Grandma Rose's because Mama said she'd protect us. She said Grandma knew people, had connections, could help us disappear for real. But we didn't make it. Her voice broke on the last word, and she dissolved into tears again. Marcus pulled her into his arms. "This little girl carrying trauma, no child should know." Dottie's phone rang. "Sheriff Morales, we have a problem," she said without preamble. "Vincent Chen just left my office. He's filing for emergency custody, citing parental rights. His lawyers are already contacting a judge. Can they do that?" "They can try. The restraining order is complicated since Sarah's deceased, and legally, he's right. He is their biological father with no criminal convictions. Lily just told me he abused Sarah 4 years. I believe her. But proving it in court, that's different. We need evidence, documentation, witnesses. The kind of case that takes months to build, and Chen's lawyers are moving fast." The sheriff paused. "There's something else. I ran your background check. You were dishonorably discharged from the army. Assault on a superior officer. Spent 6 months in Leavenworth. Care to explain why you hit your CO?" Marcus closed his eyes, the memory flooding back. The village outside Kandahar, the firefight, the children caught in the crossfire. Major Collins ordering him to falsify the after-action reports to make it look like insurgents killed those kids, not American bullets. I was ordered to lie about civilian casualties, children. I refused. "So you hit him." "So I hit him multiple times. Broke his jaw, his nose, 3 ribs. They had to pull me off him. Marcus's voice was flat, emotionless. I'd do it again. Sheriff Morales was quiet for a long moment. The court's going to see that discharge and make assumptions. Let them, Marcus. I'm trying to help you here. But you need to understand what you're up against. Vincent Chen is a millionaire with connections. You're a former biker with a dishonorable discharge and no legal relationship to these children. In a custody battle, you lose badly. Then I won't let it get to court. What does that mean? It means I'm keeping these kids safe, Sheriff. However, I have to. Don't do anything stupid. Too late for that. I took custody of 2 kids I barely know. Stupid's already done. He hung up before she could respond. Lily was watching him with those knowing eyes. He's going to take us away, isn't he? Not if I can help it. But you can help it. Nobody can help it. Her voice was dull, resigned. He always wins. Mama said he always wins because he has money and we don't. Money makes the rules different. Marcus knelt in front of her. Maybe, but I'm not your mama. And I don't play by the rules. Not anymore. What are you going to do? I'm going to fight for you. Why? The question was genuine, confused. You don't even know us. We're not your family. Why would you fight for us? Marcus thought about Sarah. About the girl he'd loved, who'd written him letters, until the war changed him into someone she couldn't love. He thought about the children in that village, the ones he couldn't save. He thought about 20 years of running from himself, trying to outrun guilt and grief on a motorcycle. Because nobody else will, he said simply. And because you deserve someone who does. The Walmart was busy for a Tuesday morning, full of retirees and mothers with young children. Marcus pushed a cart through the aisles, Lily walking beside him, Noah strapped into the cart's child seat and chewing on his fist. They'd been shopping for 20 minutes, filling the cart with clothes, toys, and necessities, when Marcus felt it. That prickling sensation in the back of his neck that meant someone was watching. He turned to find a well-dressed woman in her 30s staring at them, her phone pressed to her ear. Her eyes were on Lily, then Noah, then on Marcus's tattooed arms. She saw him looking and quickly turned away, but he caught the tail end of her conversation. Yes, I'm sure. To children. And the man looks dangerous. Desert Wolves tattoo on his. Marcus's jaw tightened. He grabbed Lily's hand. We need to go now, but we haven't gotten Noah's. Now. Lily. They made it to the checkout line, but Marcus could feel the stares multiplying. The cashier, a kid who couldn't be more than 19, scanned their items with nervous hands, his eyes darting between Marcus and the children. Is everything okay here? A voice said behind them. Marcus turned to find a store manager accompanied by a security guard. The manager was a middle-aged man with a forced smile and suspicious eyes. We're fine, Marcus said evenly. Just shopping. A customer expressed concern about the children. The manager's eyes flicked to Lily, who'd gone pale. Are they yours? Yes. Can I see some identification? Just a formality, you understand. Marcus pulled out his driver's license and the temporary custody papers Sheriff Morales had given him. The manager studied them, his frown deepening. These papers say temporary emergency custody for 72 hours. That's not the same as being their father. It's the same as being legally responsible for them. Still, given the circumstances, maybe we should call. Call who? Marcus's voice hardened. Call the sheriff who granted me that custody. Call Child Protective Services who placed them with me. Or call some random stranger who decided I looked dangerous. The security guard's hand moved to his radio. Lily pressed against Marcus's side, and Noah started to fuss, sensing the tension. Sir, we're just trying to ensure the children's safety. Their safety. Marcus felt his control slipping. Felt the old anger rising. You want to know what's not safe? 2 kids sitting on the side of the road in 100-degree heat because their mother's dead and everyone drove past without stopping. You want to know what's not safe? A father who spent years terrorizing his family, who's right now trying to use his money and lawyers to take these kids away from the one person protecting them. That's not safe. Me buying them clothes and food. That's the safest they've been in years. Nevertheless, let them go, Tom. Everyone turned. Sheriff Morales stood at the end of the aisle, her uniform crisp, her expression unreadable. These children are in legal custody. Mr. Stone has done nothing wrong except care for 2 kids who desperately need it. She looked at the gathering crowd. Unless someone here has actual evidence of abuse or neglect, I suggest everyone mind their own business. The manager's face reddened, but he stepped back. The crowd dispersed slowly, reluctantly, still shooting looks over their shoulders. Outside, Marcus loaded the bags into his truck with shaking hands. Sheriff Morales followed. "Thank you," he managed. "Don't thank me. I just got off the phone with the judge. Vincent Chen's lawyers filed for emergency custody. The hearing is tomorrow morning." Marcus's blood ran cold. Tomorrow. They argued that every day of delay puts the children at risk with an unsuitable guardian. The sheriff's voice was tight with anger. The judge bought it, or got bought. Hard to tell the difference with Chen's kind of money. "We'll run," Marcus said immediately. "I'll take them and disappear. Mexico, Canada, doesn't matter. And you'll be fugitives. Chen will use that to prove you're dangerous, unstable. You'll lose any chance of ever keeping them legally." Sheriff Morales put a hand on his arm. "You need a lawyer. A good one. I can't afford a good lawyer." "Then you need to find someone who will take the case pro bono, or you need to pray for a miracle." She looked at the children in the truck. Lily's worried face pressed against the window. "Because going into that courtroom tomorrow without representation, you might as well hand those kids to Chen. Gift-trapped." Marcus drove home in silence, his mind racing. A lawyer. He needed a lawyer. He had maybe $300 to his name after the shopping trip. That wouldn't even cover a consultation fee. Back at the trailer, he got the kids settled with sandwiches and cartoons, then stepped outside to make calls. The first 3 law offices he tried laughed when he explained the situation. The 4th hung up when he mentioned Vincent Chen's name. The 5th a Stone, Marcus Stone. The voice was familiar, but Marcus couldn't place it. "Yeah, who's this?" "Jim Patterson. We served together. 3rd Battalion. Bravo Company. You saved my ass in Fallujah when the tide went off." Marcus remembered Patterson, a kid from Ohio with a baby face and the talent for getting into trouble. Marcus had pulled him out of an overturned Humvee while under fire. "Jim, yeah, I remember. You made it home okay. Thanks to you. Got my law degree on the G-bill. Opened a practice here in Tucson 3 years ago." A pause. "Heard through the grapevine you're in some trouble. Something about the kids and the custody battle. How did you?" "Small world, brother. Small illegal community. Vincent Chen's lawyers have been calling around, warning people off taking your case. Says you're unstable, dangerous." Patterson's voice hardened. "Thing is, I remember who you really are. Remember why you got that dishonorable discharge. You stood up for what was right, even when it cost you everything." Marcus felt hope, fragile and dangerous. "I can't pay you. Don't remember asking for payment. You ready to fight this thing for real?" "Whatever it takes." "Good, because Chen's lawyers are sharks, and they smell blood in the water. We're going to need everything. Sarah's medical records, police reports, witness statements, anything that proves abuse. Can you get me that by tomorrow morning?" "I don't even know where to start." "I do. Give me 2 hours. I'm coming to you." Patterson showed up 90 minutes later, a compact man in his late 30s with salt and pepper hair and a briefcase that looked like it had survived a war itself. He probably had. He spent an hour with Lily, gently asking questions, taking notes. She told him everything, the bruises, the threats, the constant moving, the fear. Her voice was quiet, but steady, and Marcus heard the strength in it, the resilience of a child who'd survived more than most adults ever would. When Patterson emerged from the bedroom, his expression was grim. "That little girl is credible as hell. Any jury would believe her. Problem is, she's 8. Chen's lawyers will argue she's been coached, that she's traumatized and unreliable, that her memories are distorted by grief. So what do? We find corroboration. Sarah's medical records, police reports from the times she called for help, witness statements from neighbors, co-workers, Anyone who saw the abuse. Patterson pulled out his laptop. I've got a paralegal running searches now, but I'm going to be straight with you, Marcus. This is a long shot. Chen has resources we can't match. The best we can hope for is to delay the custody transfer. Buy more time to investigate. How much time? Weeks, maybe months. Chen won't wait months. No, he won't. Which means you need to be ready for a fight that might get ugly. Patterson met his eyes. How far are you willing to go for these kids? Marcus thought about Lily's tear-stained face, about Noah's tiny hand gripping his beard, about Sarah's lifeless body in that wrecked car. As far as it takes. Even if it means losing everything. I've already lost everything that mattered. These kids, they're my chance to get something back. Something real. Patterson nodded slowly. Okay, then let's go to war. That night, Marcus lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling. Lily and Noah were asleep in the bedroom, safe for now. But tomorrow loomed like a storm on the horizon. His phone buzzed. A text from a number he didn't recognize. Enjoy your last night with them. Tomorrow they come home where they belong. And you'll be exactly where you deserve to be. Alone. Vincent Chen. Marcus deleted the message, but the words lingered. Alone. He'd been alone for 20 years. Isolated by choice and circumstance. The desert wolves had been brothers in name only. United by colors and chrome. But never really connected. He told himself he preferred it that way. That attachment was weakness. That caring too much would destroy him. But these kids, these two small humans who'd crashed into his life, they'd shattered that lie completely. He got up and walked quietly to the bedroom door, watching Lily and Noah sleep. Lily had one arm around her brother, protective even in dreams. Noah's thumb was in his mouth, his little chest rising and falling peacefully. Tomorrow, Vincent Chen and his army of lawyers would try to take them away. Tomorrow, Marcus would walk into a courtroom as an ex-con, a disgraced soldier, a man with no legal standing and no real chance of winning. Tomorrow he'd fight anyway, because some fights were worth losing everything for. And these kids, they were worth it all. The courthouse steps felt like walking to an execution. Marcus held Noah against his chest, while Lily gripped his free hand, so tightly his fingers went numb. Patterson walked beside them, his briefcase swinging, his jaw set with determination that Marcus desperately wanted to believe in. Remember, Patterson said quietly, stay calm, answer only what's asked, and for God's sake, don't let them provoke you. Chen's lawyers will try to make you lose your temper. I won't, you say that now. Wait until they start talking about those kids like their investments. They pushed through the heavy oak doors into a hallway that smelled like old wood and broken promises. Vincent Chen stood at the far end, surrounded by three lawyers in suits that probably cost more than Marcus's truck. When Vincent saw them, his smile was pure predator. Marcus, he called out, his voice echoing off marble floors. And the children, good, saves us the trouble of having the bailiff retrieve them. Lily made a small sound of fear and pressed against Marcus's leg. Noah, sensing the tension, started to whimper. Ignore him, Patterson muttered. Just keep walking. But Vincent wasn't done. He walked toward them, his lawyers flanking him like a corporate army. Up close, Marcus could see the cold calculation in his eyes, the absolute certainty that he'd already won. Lily, sweetheart, Vincent said, his voice dripping false warmth. Did this man hurt you? It's okay to tell the truth. You're safe now. You're not safe, Lily whispered, her voice so quiet Marcus barely heard it. Nobody's safe around you. Vincent's mask slipped for just a second, his eyes flashing with rage before the smile returned. See, this is what happens when children are exposed to unstable influences. They become confused, frightened. The sooner we correct this situation, the better. Mr. Chen, Patterson stepped forward, his voice professional. I'd appreciate it if you'd refrain from speaking to my clients before the hearing. Your clients. Vincent laughed. That little girl is my daughter. The baby is my son. Stone here is just a temporary inconvenience. One of Vincent's lawyers, a silver-haired woman with shark eyes, leaned in to whisper something. Vincent nodded. then turned back to Marcus. My legal team has prepared quite a presentation about you. Your discharge, your criminal associations, your complete lack of qualifications to care for children. By the time we're done, the judge will be horrified that these kids spent even one night under your roof. Marcus felt his control slipping, felt the old rage building. But then Lily squeezed his hand 3 times, a pattern she'd started last night. Her way of saying I trust you without words. He squeezed back twice. I've got you. We'll see you in there, Marcus said evenly, and walked past Vincent into the courtroom. Judge Margaret Hendricks was 60-some with steel grey hair and eyes that missed nothing. She sat behind her bench looking through papers, her reading glasses perched on her nose. When everyone was seated, she looked up. This is a hearing for emergency custody of minors Lily Chen, age 8, and Noah Chen, age 6 months. Mr. Chen, as biological father, is requesting immediate custody. Mr. Stone currently holds temporary emergency placement. Mr. Patterson, you're representing Mr. Stone. Yes, Your Honor. And you have how long to prepare? Approximately 14 hours, Your Honor. Judge Hendricks's eyebrows rose. This should be interesting. Mr. Chen, your lawyers filed this motion. You may present first. The silver-haired lawyer stood. Her name was Diane Mercer, and Marcus had Googled her last night. She'd never lost a custody case. Never, Your Honor. This is a straightforward matter. Vincent Chen is the biological father of both children. He's a successful technology executive with substantial resources to provide for them. He has a stable home, a clean record, and genuine concern for his children's welfare. She pulled out a tablet. In contrast, Marcus Stone is a former gang member with a dishonorable discharge, no stable income, and no legal relationship to these children whatsoever. The temporary placement was granted in haste, without proper vetting. We're here to correct that error. Miss Mercer, I was the one who granted that placement. Sheriff Morales's voice rang out from the gallery. And I did vet Mr. Stone. These children were traumatized. Their mother had just died, and they trusted him. That mattered. Sheriff, Judge Hendricks said gently. You'll have your chance to testify. Ms. Mercer, continue. Diane pulled up photos on a screen. Vincent's mansion in Seattle, his cars, his credentials. Then she switched to photos of Marcus's trailer. Grainy surveillance shots that made it look even worse than it was. This is where Mr. Stone took these children. A trailer in a rundown park surrounded by other trailers housing registered offenders and drug users. No proper sleeping arrangements, no childproofing, no safety measures of any kind. I bought beds, Marcus said, before Patterson could stop him, and car seats and everything they needed. Mr. Stone, you'll have your turn. Please wait. Diane smiled, having gotten exactly the reaction she wanted. You see, Your Honor, impulsive, defensive, unable to control his outbursts. These are not qualities we want in a guardian. Objection. Patterson stood. Ms. Mercer is editorializing, not presenting evidence. Sustained. Ms. Mercer, stick to facts. But the damage was done. She continued pulling up Marcus's military records, his arrest history with the Desert Wolves. Every dark moment of his past laid bare. Mr. Stone assaulted a superior officer, so severely the man required reconstructive surgery. He was court-martialed, imprisoned, and dishonorably discharged. After his release, he joined a criminal motorcycle gang and participated in activities, including assault, weapons trafficking, and I was never convicted of trafficking. Marcus interrupted again, unable to stop himself. I left the club because I wouldn't participate in that. Mr. Stone, Judge Hendricks's voice was sharp. One more outburst and I'll hold you in contempt. Patterson grabbed Marcus's arm, squeezing hard. A warning. Marcus clenched his jaw and stayed silent. Diane moved in for the kill. Your Honor, we also have evidence that Mr. Stone has made threatening statements to Mr. Chen, has attempted to alienate the children from their father, and has demonstrated aggressive behavior in public settings. Just yesterday, he became confrontational with store employees at a local Walmart when they questioned his relationship with the children. That's not what happened, Marcus growled. Mr. Stone, Final warning. Lily stood up suddenly, her small voice cutting through the courtroom. He was protecting us. Those people were being mean and scary, and he kept us safe. Young lady, please sit down, Judge Hendricks said, her expression softening slightly. You'll have a chance to speak. But Lily didn't sit. He's lying. She pointed at Vincent. He's lying about everything. He hurt my mama 4 years, and now he's lying about Marcus. Lily, honey, Vincent's voice was smooth, concerned. You told mama she was worthless. Lily's voice rose, cracking with emotion. You told her nobody would ever love her. You hurt her, and she cried every night because of you. The courtroom erupted. Vincent's lawyers were shouting objections. Patterson was trying to calm Lily. Judge Hendricks was banging her gavel. Order. I will have order. Noah started crying, his wails echoing off the courtroom walls. Marcus stood, trying to comfort him, but a bailiff moved forward. Sir, sit down. The baby's scared. Sit down. Marcus sat, Noah screaming in his arms, Lily sobbing in her seat, and Vincent watching it all with a satisfied smile. Judge Hendricks waited until the chaos subsided. We're going to take a 15-minute recess. When we return, I expect everyone to conduct themselves appropriately. Mr. Patterson, control your witnesses. Miss Mercer, control your client. If I see one more outburst from anyone, there will be consequences. She stood and left, her robe swishing behind her in the hallway. Patterson pulled Marcus aside. You're killing us. Every time you react, every time you can't control yourself, you prove their point, that you're unstable, that you're dangerous. I'm not dangerous to these kids. The judge doesn't know that. She sees an ex-con with a temper, arguing with a wealthy father who has every legal right to his children. How do you think that looks? Marcus had no answer. He looked down at Noah, who'd finally stopped crying, his little face blotchy and wet. Lily stood nearby, looking small and defeated. I'm sorry, she whispered. I messed it up. I shouldn't have yelled. No, baby. Marcus knelt down. You told the truth. That's never wrong. But now the judge is mad. The judge is doing her job. And we're going to do ours. We're going to get through this together. He wished he believed it. When they returned to the courtroom, the atmosphere had shifted. Judge Hendricks looked tired, frustrated, like she'd rather be anywhere else. Mr. Patterson, call your first witness. Patterson stood. I call Sheriff Rita Morales to the stand. Sheriff Morales took her oath and settled into the witness chair. She looked directly at the judge as she spoke. I've been sheriff of this county for 12 years. I've seen a lot of custody situations, a lot of emergency placements. What I saw was to traumatize children who just lost their mother, and a man who stopped to help when everyone else drove by. Sheriff, Diane interrupted, standing. Emotional appeals aside, what were Mr. Stone's qualifications for emergency custody? He'd saved the baby's life. He'd earned the children's trust. And frankly, we had no other options at 1 o'clock in the morning. No foster families available. Not for an emergency placement of 2 children. One being an infant. The nearest available foster home was 6 hours away. So you placed traumatized children with a complete stranger because it was convenient. Sheriff Morales' eyes flashed. I placed them with a man who demonstrated compassion and capability, who, I might add, has cared for them excellently since then. Based on what evidence? Based on multiple welfare checks I've conducted. Based on reports from medical professionals who've examined the children. Based on my own observations. She leaned forward. Those kids are healthy, safe, and loved. Can Mr. Chen say the same about his track record? Objection. Diane was on her feet. Sheriff Morales has no knowledge of Mr. Chen's parenting abilities. I have knowledge of his wife's restraining order. I have knowledge of multiple domestic disturbance calls from their previous residents. Your Honor, this is hearsay and prejudicial. Sustained. Sheriff, please limit yourself to direct observations. But the seed was planted. Marcus could see it in the judge's eyes. Doubt. Not enough to change her mind, maybe, but enough to make her question. Patterson called witnesses throughout the morning. The paramedic who treated the children described their condition, When found, the doctor who'd examined them praised Marcus's care. Even Betty from the truck stop reluctantly admitted that Marcus had been gentle with the children, patient, protective, but Diane demolished each one on cross-examination. The paramedic admitted he'd only seen Marcus for 15 minutes. The doctor acknowledged having no prior knowledge of Marcus's character. Betty confessed she'd initially been afraid of him. By lunch recess, Marcus could feel it slipping away. The judge's expressions, the tone of her questions. She was already decided. The law was clear. Vincent was the biological father. Marcus was nobody. We need something bigger, Patterson said over sandwiches that Marcus couldn't eat. Something that proves Vincent is dangerous. That giving him custody would harm these kids. Like what? Lily's testimony. But they'll say she's been coached. We need documentation, medical records, police reports, something concrete. Patterson's phone buzzed. He looked at it and his face went pale. Oh God, what? My paralegal just sent this. Sarah's medical records from 3 years ago. Right before she left Vincent, he turned the screen toward Marcus. Marcus read. His blood turning to ice. Fractured ribs, concussion, bruising consistent with strangulation. The attending physician had noted, patient claims injuries from fall, but presentation suggests intimate partner violence. Patient declined to file report or seek shelter services. This is it. Marcus breathed. This proves he hurt her. It proves Sarah was injured. Vincent's lawyers will argue it proves nothing about him. Sarah never filed charges, never named him. Legally, it's circumstantial. It's the truth. Truth and proof aren't always the same thing in court. Patterson stood. But it's something. It plants doubt. We use this. Combine it with Lily's testimony. Maybe we can at least delay the custody transfer. Buy more time to investigate. They returned to the courtroom for the afternoon session. Patterson entered the medical records into evidence, and Marcus watched Vincent's face tighten, watched his lawyers huddle in whispered conversation. Your Honor, Diane said smoothly, while these records are tragic, they prove nothing about my client. Sarah Chen's injuries could have resulted from any number of incidents, without a police report or formal accusation. Using them to implicate Mr. Chen is pure speculation. I disagree, Patterson argued. Combined with the restraining order Sarah filed, the pattern of fleeing, and the child's testimony, these records establish a clear history of abuse. Judge Hendricks studied the records. I'll allow them into evidence. But Miss Mercer is correct. Without corroboration, their value is limited. Mr. Patterson, do you have any other witnesses? Yes, Your Honor. I call Lily Chen to the stand. The courtroom went silent. Vincent leaned forward, his eyes locked on his daughter. Diane smiled slightly, confident. Patterson helped Lily into the witness chair, and she looked impossibly small there, her feet dangling above the floor. Lily, Patterson said gently, I know this is scary, but I need you to answer some questions, okay? Just tell the truth. She nodded, her hands gripping the armrests. Did your father ever hurt your mother? Yes. Her voice was barely audible. Can you speak up, honey? Yes. Louder now. He hurt her all the time. Can you describe what you saw? Lily's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't look away. He'd grab her arms and squeeze until she cried. He'd push her against walls. Once he threw a plate at her, and it cut her face. She had to tell everyone she walked into a cabinet. Did he ever hurt you? No, but he'd make me watch. He'd say, this is what happens to people who disappoint me. Lily, remember that? Her voice shook. I was always so scared I'd disappoint him. I tried to be perfect. I tried so hard. Objection, Diane said, standing. Your Honor, this child is clearly distressed and possibly unreliable. Objection is noted. Overruled. Continue, Mr. Patterson. Patterson crouched beside the witness stand, his voice gentle. Lily, why did your mother run away? Because she was scared he'd kill her. He said he would sometimes. He'd say, one day I'll get tired of you, Sarah. And then what? Who's going to protect you then? Lily wiped her eyes. Mama was always protecting me from him. always standing between us. But she was so tired, so scared. Running away was the only way to be safe. And now, are you scared of your father now? Lily looked directly at Vincent, and Marcus saw something in her eyes he'd never seen before. Not fear, rage. I hate him, she said clearly. I hate him for what he did to my mama. I hate him for making us run and hide and never feel safe. I hate him for taking her away from me. Lily Vincent's voice was pained, hurt. Sweetheart, I never. Don't call me that, she screamed it, her small voice echoing. Don't ever call me that. You don't get to pretend you love me. You don't get to pretend you care. Mr. Chen, you will not speak. Judge Hendricks banged her gavel. He's lying. Lily continued. Everything he's saying is a lie. He doesn't want us because he loves us. He wants us because we're his property. Because Mama took something that belonged to him and he can't stand it. Lily was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. Marcus is the only person who's ever kept us safe. Marcus is the only one who cares if we're scared or hungry or sad. Marcus is. She couldn't continue. The sobs took over completely, and Patterson quickly helped her down from the stand. Marcus caught her as she stumbled, pulling her tight against his chest. I've got you, he whispered. I've got you, baby. You're so brave. So brave. Judge Hendricks called another recess, and Marcus carried Lily out of the courtroom. She clung to him. She was drowning, and he was the only thing keeping her afloat. In the hallway, Vincent approached. Patterson moved to intercept, but Vincent held up his hands. Just let me talk to her, just for a minute. Absolutely not, Marcus said. She's my daughter. I have a right. You have no rights. Marcus's voice was deadly quiet. You gave up your rights when you terrorized her mother, when you made a little girl afraid to breathe wrong in her own home. When you met Vincent's punch came out of nowhere, catching Marcus on the jaw. Marcus stumbled back and Lily screamed. Bailiffs appeared instantly, grabbing Vincent, pulling him away. You poisoned her against me, Vincent shouted, struggling. You turned my own daughter into a liar. This is your fault. All of it. Marcus could taste blood in his mouth, but he didn't move toward Vincent, didn't retaliate, just held Lily tighter and watched as they dragged Vincent away. Patterson was talking urgently with the bailiffs, with Sheriff Morales, who'd appeared from somewhere. Judge Hendricks emerged from her chambers, her face thunderous. What happened here? Vincent Chen struck Mr. Stone, Sheriff Morales reported. Unprovoked assault in front of multiple witnesses, including his daughter. Judge Hendricks looked at Vincent, who was being held by two bailiffs, his expensive suit rumpled, his carefully constructed mask completely shattered. She looked at Marcus, holding a crying child. She looked at the medical records, still sitting on her bench. We'll reconvene in 30 minutes. Mr. Chen, you'll be in custody until then. Everyone else, stay available. Those 30 minutes felt like hours. Marcus sat in a side room with Lily and Noah, Patterson pacing nearby, Sheriff Morales making phone calls. Lily had finally stopped crying, but she wouldn't let go of Marcus's hand. What's going to happen? She asked quietly. I don't know, baby. Are we going to have to go with him? Marcus wanted to lie, wanted to promise her everything would be okay, but he'd never lied to her. And he wasn't starting now. I'm going to fight as hard as I can to keep you safe. That's all I can promise. It's not fair. Her voice was small, broken. No, Marcus agreed. It's not. When they returned to the courtroom, Vincent was seated with his lawyers, a bailiff standing close by. His expression was controlled again, but Marcus could see the rage simmering beneath. Judge Hendricks took her seat and was silent for a long moment, reading through papers. This, she said finally, is one of the most disturbing cases I've encountered. Mr. Chen, your actions today were inexcusable. Assaulting someone in a courthouse in front of your daughter demonstrates exactly the kind of violence and lack of control that concerns me. Vincent started to speak, but she held up a hand. However, that doesn't automatically resolve the custody question. You are still the biological father. Mr. Stone is still legally a stranger with a concerning background. She looked at Marcus. Mr. Stone, I've seen the evidence of your care for these children. I've heard testimony about your actions. I believe you genuinely care about their welfare. But caring isn't enough to supersede parental rights. Marcus felt his heart sink. This was it. They'd lost. Therefore, Judge Hendricks continued, I'm ordering a full investigation into Mr. Chen's fitness as a parent. This investigation will include interviews with neighbors, colleagues, and anyone who can speak to his relationship with his former wife and children. Until that investigation concludes, which I estimate will take approximately 60 days, the children will remain in Mr. Stone's custody. The courtroom exploded. Vincent was shouting. His lawyers were objecting. Patterson was trying to speak, and Lily threw her arms around Marcus's neck, sobbing. 60 days. Diane's voice cut through. Your Honor, you can't be serious. Mr. Chen has been completely denied access to his children based on unsubstantiated allegations. He punched someone in my courthouse. Mrs. Mercer. In front of witnesses. In front of his daughter. That's quite substantiated. Judge Hendricks's voice was ice. 60 days. Use that time to prove your client is fit for custody. Mr. Stone. Use that time to continue providing these children the stability they need. We'll reconvene when the investigation is complete. She banged her gavel, and it was done. Outside. The late afternoon sun felt surreal after the fluorescent courtroom lights. Marcus stood on the courthouse steps, Lily on one side, Noah in his arms, Patterson gathering papers. They'd won. Not permanently, not completely, but they'd won 60 days. 60 days to prove Vincent was a monster. 60 days to keep these children safe. 60 days to figure out how a broken ex-soldier with nothing to offer could become the father these kids deserved. Vincent emerged from the courthouse, surrounded by his lawyers, his eyes finding Marcus across the crowd. 60 days, he called out. Enjoy them, because when those 60 days are up, I'm taking my children home, and you'll be exactly what you've always been. Nothing. Marcus didn't respond, just held his children closer and walked toward his truck. Lily tugged his sleeve. Marcus, are we really safe now? He thought about Vincent's threat, about 60 days that would pass far too quickly, about investigations that money could influence and lawyers who never lost. For now, he said honestly. For now, we're safe. It would have to be enough. The first week passed in a blur of normalcy that felt anything but normal. Marcus enrolled Lily in the local elementary school, watching her disappear through the doors with her new backpack, and the kind of anxiety that made his chest hurt. She'd turned back 3 times before finally going inside, each glance asking the same question. Will you still be here when I come out? He was. He always was. Noah started teething, which meant sleepless nights, and the baby who screamed like the world was ending. Marcus walked circles around the trailer at 3 o'clock in the morning, humming old army cadences, while Noah gnawed on frozen washcloths and drawled on his shoulder. You're doing great, Patterson said during one of his check-in calls. The investigator's going to love this Father of the Year material. I'm just surviving, Marcus said, his voice rough from exhaustion. That's not the same as being good at this. You're still there. That's what matters. But Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't enough, that any minute someone would realize he had no idea what he was doing, that he was faking his way through fatherhood with Google searches and instinct. The calls started on day 9. Marcus's phone rang at midnight, a known number. He answered, groggy, expecting a wrong number. Heavy breathing. Then Vincent's voice, smooth and cold. How's my son sleeping? Does he cry for me? Marcus sat up, his blood running cold. How did you get this number? I have resources you can't imagine. Money opens doors, Marcus. All kinds of doors. A pause. How's Lily doing in school? Mrs. Patterson's 3rd grade class, right? Room 14. The one with the windows facing the parking lot. Marcus's hand clenched around the phone. If you go near that school, I don't have to go near it. I know where it is. I know what time she gets dropped off. What time she leaves. I know she sits alone at lunch because the other kids think she's weird. Vincent's voice turned mocking. Poor little girl. No friends, dead mother, living with a criminal. Must be so hard for her. The line went dead. Marcus called Sheriff Morales immediately. She arrived 20 minutes later, took his statement, promised to patrol by the school. But they both knew it wasn't enough. Vincent was too smart to get caught doing anything illegal. He was just letting Marcus know, I can reach you. I can reach them anytime I want. The next morning, Marcus drove Lily to school and sat in the parking lot for 2 hours watching. Parents gave him strange looks. A security guard came over to ask if he needed help. Marcus showed him the temporary custody papers and explained the situation. The guard, an older veteran who recognized the look in Marcus's eyes, nodded. I'll keep an eye out. Anyone suspicious comes around, I'll call you first. It was something. Not enough, but something. When Marcus picked Lily up that afternoon, she was crying. Not loud, dramatic crying. The quiet kind that kids do when they're trying to hide it. What happened? Nothing. She wouldn't look at him. Lily, some girls said my dad is a bad man, and that's why I live with you instead. They said their mom said you're dangerous and they're not allowed to play with me. Her voice cracked. I didn't have anyone to sit with at lunch. I ate in the bathroom. Marcus felt something crack inside him. He pulled the truck over, put it in park, and turned to her. Look at me, baby. She did, her eyes swimming with tears. Those girls don't know anything. Their moms don't know anything. They see tattoos and leather, and they make assumptions. But you know the truth, right? You know who I am. You're safe, she whispered. You're the only person who makes me feel safe. That's right. And those people, their opinions don't matter. Not even a little bit. He reached over and wiped her tears with his thumb. But I'm sorry you're going through this. I'm sorry my reputation is making your life harder. It's not your fault. Feels like it is. That night, Marcus got another call. This time from Patterson. We have a problem. Vincent's investigators found something. Remember that shootout 10 years ago? The one with the desert wolves. I testified against my own club. I helped put 3 men away for murder, right? But you were there when it happened. You were present during a felony that resulted in death. Patterson's voice was grim. Vincent's lawyers are arguing that makes you an accessory. They're pushing to have you arrested, which would immediately terminate your custody. That's insane. I was a witness. I cooperated fully. They're claiming you only cooperated after the fact, that you were complicit in the initial crime. It's a stretch, but with the right judge, the right pressure, he's trying to get me arrested so he can take the kids. Yeah, and it might work. Marcus looked through the doorway at Lily and Noah, both sleeping peacefully. Lily had her arm around her brother like always, protective even in sleep. What do? We fight it. I've already filed motions, contacted the DA who handled your testimony. But Marcus, this is bad. Vincent's not playing around anymore. The next morning brought a knock on the trailer door that made Marcus's blood run cold. 2 officers stood outside, their expressions professionally neutral. Marcus Stone, yeah, we need you to come with us. There are some questions about your involvement in a 2014 shooting incident. Marcus looked back at the kids. Lily was eating cereal, Noah in his high chair. They looked so small, so vulnerable. I need to call someone to watch my kids. Make it quick, he called Patterson. Then Sheriff Morales. She arrived in 15 minutes, her face tight with anger. This is harassment, she said to the officers. You know it, I know it, and Vincent Chen's lawyers know it. We're just following orders. Sheriff, whose orders? Because this case was closed 10 years ago. They didn't answer. Marcus knelt down in front of Lily, who'd gone pale. Hey, look at me. I have to go answer some questions about something that happened a long time ago. Sheriff Morales is going to stay with you and Noah until I get back. Okay. They're arresting you. Her voice was flat, dead, just like Daddy said they would. He called last night after you went to sleep. He said you'd be arrested soon, that you'd go to prison, that we'd have to come live with him because nobody else would want us. Tears spilled down her cheeks. He said you'd abandon us, just like everyone else. Marcus felt rage unlike anything he'd ever experienced. Lily, listen to me. I am not abandoning you. I am coming back. You hear me? I am coming back. Promise. I promise. but as they led him away in handcuffs, like he was a criminal, like everything he'd done for these kids meant nothing. He heard Lily's sobs behind him, and wondered if it was a promise he could keep. The interrogation room was exactly like every cop show. Grey walls, metal table, two-way mirror. The detective was young, ambitious, the kind who saw this case as a career opportunity. Let's talk about the night of August 14, 2014. You were present at Johnny's bar when shots were fired, correct? I was there. I testified about this 10 years ago. But you didn't come forward immediately, did you? You left the scene, went home, only came forward 3 days later after we'd already identified you as a witness. I was scared. My club brothers had just killed 2 men. I thought I'd be next if I talked. Or maybe you were complicit. Maybe you helped plan it, helped execute it, and only turned witness when you realized you'd get caught. That's not what happened. Then tell me what did happen. Walk me through that night. Every detail. Marcus had done this before, 10 years ago, with better lawyers and less at stake. But now, with Lily and Noah waiting, with Vincent pulling strings behind the scenes, every word felt like a trap. He told the truth anyway. The whole truth. How he'd tried to stop it. How he'd pulled one of the victims out of the line of fire, only to be too late. How he'd testified against men who'd been his brothers, because it was the right thing to do. That's a nice story, the detective said when he finished. Very heroic. But here's what I think. I think you're a criminal trying to play father to kids who aren't yours. I think Vincent Chen is right to want his children back. You've talked to Vincent. His lawyers reached out, expressed concerns about the welfare of his children being in the custody of someone with your history. So this is a hit job. Vincent couldn't win in court, so he's using you to get rid of me. I'm investigating a potential crime. You're being used, and those kids are going to pay the price. The detective leaned back. Those aren't your kids, Stone. They're Vincent Chen's kids. Maybe it's time you accepted that and walked away. Never. They kept him for 8 hours. 8 hours of questions, accusations, implied threats. 8 hours of Marcus sitting in that cold room, thinking about Lily's face, Noah's cries, the promise he'd made. Finally, Patterson arrived with papers, with threats of his own, about unlawful detention and harassment. They let Marcus go with a warning that the investigation was ongoing. It was dark when Sheriff Morales drove him home. She didn't say anything, just drove, her jaw tight. Thank you, Marcus said, for staying with them. Lily didn't stop crying for 3 hours, kept asking when you were coming back, if you were going to prison like her father said. Vincent called her last night, threatened her with exactly this. Sheriff Morales' hands clenched on the steering wheel. I'll get a restraining order. No contact with the children. He'll violate it. Then we'll arrest him, and his lawyers will get him out in an hour. You can't win against that kind of money, Sheriff. Neither can I. They pulled up to the trailer. Through the window, Marcus could see Lily sitting on the couch, Noah asleep in her lap, her eyes fixed on the door like she'd been watching 4 hours. The moment Marcus walked in, she was on her feet, running to him. He caught her, holding her tight as she sobbed into his chest. You came back. You came back. You came back. I told you I would. But Daddy said, your daddy's a liar. Lily, he's always been a liar, and I'm not him. I keep my promises. That night, after both kids were finally asleep, Marcus sat on the trailer steps with a beer he didn't drink. Sheriff Morales had left. Patterson had called with updates. The investigation was politically motivated, would probably go nowhere, but it would take time to resolve. Time Marcus didn't have. His phone rang. A known number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him. Hello. Quite a performance today. Vincent's voice, but ultimately pointless. That investigation won't stick. My lawyers made sure of that. It was just a message. What message? That I can make your life hell anytime I want. I can have you arrested, investigated, harassed. A pause. Or you could make this easy on everyone. Easy how? Walk away. Sign over whatever custody you think you have. Let me take my children home. In exchange, I'll make the investigation disappear. I'll even pay you, say $50,000 for your trouble." Marcus laughed, a harsh sound with no humor. "You think I'm doing this for money? Everyone does everything for money, Marcus. That's how the world works. Not my world. Your world is a trailer park and a criminal record. My world is penthouses and power. Which world do you think is better for my children? Your world is fear and violence. My world is the first place those kids have felt safe in years. Safe. You call this safe? You were arrested today. Lily spent the afternoon crying, convinced you'd abandoned her. Noah doesn't even know who you are. He's 6 months old. He'll forget you in a week." Vincent's voice turned cold. "You're not saving them, Marcus. You're traumatizing them. Every day they're with you is another day they're being damaged." "That's not true, isn't it? Ask yourself, what happens when I win? Because I will win. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but eventually. I have unlimited resources and unlimited patience. You have 60 days and a public defender. When I take them, and I will take them, they'll have been ripped away from another father figure. More abandonment, more loss. Is that really what you want for them?" Marcus closed his eyes, Vincent's words burrowing into every insecurity he had. "Last chance, Marcus. $50,000. Walk away. Let them adjust to their real father now instead of after they've bonded with you. It's the merciful thing to do. Mercy would be you disappearing from their lives forever. That's not going to happen. So choose. Do they lose you now, quickly, with minimal pain? Or do they lose you later, after they love you, after you've become everything to them?" Vincent's voice dropped. "Because they will lose you. That's inevitable. You're just deciding how much it'll hurt." The line went dead. Marcus sat there, Vincent's words echoing. Was he being selfish? Was he hurting these kids more by fighting a battle he couldn't win? Would it be better to let them go now? Let them adjust to Vincent, avoid the inevitable trauma of losing another father figure. The trailer door opened. Lily stood there in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "Can't sleep," she said quietly. "Nightmares and memories. They feel the same lately." She looked up at him. "Are you okay? You look sad. Just thinking about Daddy." "Yeah, he's going to win, isn't he?" Her voice was matter-of-fact, resigned. "He always wins." Marcus wanted to lie, to promise her everything would be fine. But he'd never lied to her. "I don't know, baby. He's got a lot of power, a lot of money. And we just have you. Yeah, you just have me." Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then she took his hand, her small fingers wrapping around his scarred knuckles. "I'd rather have you than all his money," she said simply. "Even if we lose, even if he takes us away, I'd still rather have had you." Something in Marcus's chest broke and healed at the same time. He pulled her close, kissing the top of her head. "I'm not giving up. Lily, you hear me? I don't care what your father threatens, what he offers, what he does. I'm fighting for you and Noah until there's nothing left to fight with. Promise. Promise." Inside, Noah started crying. Lily jumped up. "I'll get him. You stay here." She disappeared into the trailer, and Marcus heard her soft voice, singing a lullaby she must have learned from Sarah. Noah's cries quieted, replaced by contented coos. Marcus looked up at the desert stars, thinking about Vincent's offer. $50,000. Enough to start over somewhere. Enough to pretend these 4 weeks never happened. But they had happened. These kids had burrowed into his heart, had made him feel something beyond the numbness he'd carried for 20 years. They had made him want to be better, to be worthy of their trust. Walking away wasn't mercy. It was cowardice. A Marcus Stone was a lot of things. Ex-con, disgraced soldier, broken man with too much past and not enough future. But he wasn't a coward. Not anymore. His phone buzzed. A text from Patterson. Investigators' preliminary reports came through early. "Vincent's got problems. Big ones. Call me." Marcus's heart hammered as he dialed. Patterson answered on the first ring. They found a witness. One of Sarah's old neighbors. She kept a journal, Marcus. Detailed accounts of every time she heard screaming. Every time she saw Sarah with new bruises. Every time Vincent threatened her, "She's willing to testify. Why didn't she come forward before?" She was scared. But when she heard about the custody battle, about Vincent trying to get the kids, she couldn't stay silent. Patterson's voice was electric with hope. "This changes everything. With her testimony combined with Sarah's medical records and Lily's account, we might actually win this thing." Marcus couldn't breathe. "You're serious?" "Dead serious. The investigators recommending against granting Vincent custody. She's citing evidence of domestic violence, pattern of abuse, danger to the children. It's not over yet." "But Marcus, we've got a real shot." For the first time since that courtroom, Marcus let himself hope. Inside the trailer, Lily was singing to Noah, her voice soft and sweet. "Thanks, Jim," Marcus said, his voice rough. "Thank you for believing in us. You earned it, brother. Now we just have to make sure the judge believes it, too." After he hung up, Marcus sat in the darkness processing. They had a chance. A real chance. 60 days had seemed impossible. But maybe, just maybe, it would be enough. His phone rang again. A known number. He almost ignored it, but answered. Marcus Stone. A woman's voice. Unfamiliar. "Who's this?" "My name is Rebecca Martinez. I was Sarah's college roommate. I just heard about the custody situation, and I have information about Vincent Chen that you need to hear." "I'm listening." "He tried to kill her 10 years ago, before they were married. She called me from the hospital, said he choked her unconscious during an argument. She was going to press charges, but he threatened her family, threatened me, threatened anyone she cared about. She dropped the charges and married him 6 months later." Marcus's blood ran cold. "Do you have proof?" "I have the hospital records. I kept them just in case. I always knew he'd come back into her life somehow. I just wish." Her voice broke. "I wish I'd done more. I wish I'd stopped her from marrying him." "Can you testify in court?" "I'll do whatever it takes to keep those kids away from him. Sarah was my best friend. If I can help her children now, when I couldn't help her then, yes, I'll testify." Marcus gave her Patterson's number, hung up, and let out a breath. He felt like he'd been holding 4 weeks. They were building a case. A real case. Vincent's carefully constructed facade was cracking. And behind that facade was exactly what Marcus had known all along. A monster. The question was, would the judge see it in time? The morning of the final custody hearing arrived with the kind of Arizona heat that made the air shimmer. Marcus stood in front of the bathroom mirror, attempting to knot a tie he'd borrowed from Patterson. His hands shook, making the simple task nearly impossible. "You're doing it wrong," Lily said from the doorway. She wore the new dress Sheriff Morales had bought her, blue with white flowers, something a little girl should wear to something happy, not to a hearing that would decide her entire future. "Yeah, I know." Marcus gave up, letting the tie hang loose. Never was good at these things. Lily walked over and took the tie from his hands. "Mama taught me. She said ladies should know how to tie ties in case the men in their lives are useless at it." Her voice caught on the past tense, but she didn't cry. She'd run out of tears somewhere around day 5. She tied it perfectly, her small fingers moving with practiced ease. When she finished, she looked up at him. "Are we going to lose today?" Marcus knelt down to her level. "I don't know, baby. But whatever happens, I need you to remember something. You are the bravest person I've ever met. You took care of your brother when your mama couldn't. You told the truth even when it was scary. You survived things that would have broken grown men." He touched her cheek gently. "No matter what that judge says today, you're going to be okay. Because you're a survivor." "I don't want to survive," she whispered. "I want to stay here with you." "I know. I want that, too." Noah babbled from his crib, oblivious to the weight of the day. Marcus picked him up, and the baby immediately grabbed his beard, giggling. In 2 months, Noah had changed. More hair, more teeth, more personality. He knew Marcus's voice, reached for him when he was scared, called him Dada, without any understanding of how much that word meant. Sheriff Morales arrived to drive them to the courthouse. She looked official in her uniform, her badge catching the morning sun, but her eyes were worried. Patterson called. The witness list got longer overnight. Longer. How? Vincent's brought in character witnesses, colleagues, friends, a child psychologist who's prepared to testify that the children would be better served in a two-parent home with financial stability. A two-parent home. Vincent's not married. He got engaged last week to a woman named Amanda Cross, elementary school teacher, clean record, perfect on paper. Sheriff Morales' jaw tightened. It's a strategy, makes him look stable, committed, ready to provide a proper family environment. Marcus felt sick. He found someone willing to marry him in a week. Money is very persuasive, and she probably doesn't know what he really is. The courthouse was crowded. Vincent stood near the entrance with his lawyers and a blonde woman in her 30s, who must be Amanda. She looked nervous, uncomfortable, like she wasn't entirely sure what she'd gotten herself into. Vincent saw them and smiled. That cold predator smile Marcus had learned to hate. He said something to Amanda, and she looked over at Lily with an expression that might have been pity or might have been calculation. Hard to tell. Don't look at them, Marcus told Lily. Just keep walking. But Lily had stopped, staring at the blonde woman. Is that his new wife? Fiancée? Apparently. She looks nice. Lily's voice was small, uncertain. Maybe she'd be a good mom. But her hand gripped Marcus's tighter, betraying her words. Inside the courtroom, Judge Hendricks looked older than she had 60 days ago. The weight of this case evident in the lines around her eyes. She reviewed her notes, silently, while everyone settled. We are here for final determination in the custody matter of Lily and Noah Chen. I've reviewed the investigator's report, all submitted evidence, and witness statements. This has been one of the most complex cases I've handled. She looked at Vincent, then at Marcus. Before we begin testimony, I want to make something clear. My only concern is the welfare of these children, not parental rights, not legal technicalities, not anyone's feelings, just what's best for Lily and Noah. Understood. Everyone nodded. Double quotes Mr. Chen. Your lawyers may call their first witness. We call Dr. Richard Forster, child psychologist. Dr. Forster was exactly what you'd expect. Expensive suit, silver hair, the kind of voice that made everything he said sound like gospel truth. He testified about the importance of biological connections, the trauma of multiple placements, the benefits of financial stability and two-parent households. In your professional opinion, Diane asked, where would these children best thrive? With their biological father in a stable home environment with adequate resources and a maternal figure. The current placement, while well-intentioned, lacks the fundamental structure children need for a healthy development. Patterson stood. Dr. Forster. Have you met Lily or Noah? No. But based on the case files, so you have no direct knowledge of their emotional state. Attachments can be reformed. Children are resilient or re-traumatized. Patterson shot back. No further questions. Diane called witness after witness. Vincent's colleagues praising his work ethic. His fiancée testifying about his commitment to family. The child psychologist reiterating his opinions. Each one painted a picture of Vincent as a reformed man. A father who'd made mistakes, but deserved a chance to make them right. Then Diane called Amanda Cross to the stand. She looked terrified, her hands shaking as she swore her oath. She kept glancing at Vincent like she needed his approval for every breath. Miss Cross, how long have you known Mr. Chen? About 6 weeks. And you're engaged to be married? Yes. Her voice was barely audible. Why did you agree to marry him so quickly? He told me about his children, about how much he missed them. He was so passionate about getting them back, about being a father. It was beautiful, really, his dedication. And you're prepared to help raise Lily and Noah? Yes, I have always wanted children. I'm a teacher. I love kids. I think I could be good for them. Patterson approached for cross-examination, his expression gentle. Miss Cross, has Mr. Chen ever raised his voice to you? What? It's a simple question. Has he ever yelled at you, shown anger, made you afraid? Amanda's eyes darted to Vincent. No, he's always been very kind. Has he told you about his first marriage? About Sarah? He said she was troubled, that she had mental health issues and turned the children against him. Did he tell you about the restraining order she filed? He said it was a misunderstanding, that Sarah was paranoid. Did he tell you about the hospital visits, the bruises, the neighbor who documented years of abuse? Diane jumped up. Objection. Leading the witness and assuming facts not in evidence. Sustained. Mr. Patterson. Rephrase. Patterson pulled out a document. Miss Cross, this is Sarah Chen's medical record from 8 years ago. Fractured ribs, concussion, bruising consistent with strangulation. Were you aware of this? Amanda's face went white. No. Were you aware that Sarah fled with her children and lived in hiding for 3 years? Because she was afraid for her life. Vincent said she kidnapped them, he said. Amanda looked at Vincent, and something in her expression changed. Fear flickered across her face. He never mentioned any of that. One more question. Has Mr. Chen asked you to sign a prenuptial agreement? Yes. But that's normal. An agreement that gives you no parental rights to the children. That allows him to divorce you at any time without any financial settlement if you fail to adequately fulfill your role as stepmother. Patterson held up the document. An agreement that essentially makes you an employee, not a wife. Amanda's hands trembled. I didn't read it that carefully. He said it was standard. Miss Cross, Judge Hendricks leaned forward. Are you comfortable with the terms of this agreement? Amanda was silent for a long moment. Then quietly, No, I'm not. Vincent's lawyer called for a recess, but the damage was done. Marcus watched Amanda and Vincent arguing in hushed tones in the hallway, saw her pull off her engagement ring and throw it at him, before walking away. So much for the two-parent home. When they reconvened, Patterson called his witnesses, the neighbor with the journal, Rebecca Martinez with her hospital records, a former co-worker of Sarah's who testified about seeing bruises, about Sarah's fear, about the time Vincent showed up at her workplace and screamed at her in front of customers. Each testimony built on the last, creating a picture of a man who wasn't a reformed father, but a controlling abuser. Then Patterson called Lily to the stand. She walked up slowly, her blue dress swishing around her knees. The bailiff lowered the microphone for her, and she sat with her hands folded in her lap, looking impossibly small in the witness chair. Lily, Patterson said gently, I know you've already testified once. I'm sorry to ask you to do it again, but I need you to tell the judge about your life with Mr. Stone. Can you do that? She nodded, her voice steady when she spoke. He's good to us. He makes sure we eat healthy food and go to bed on time. He helps me with my homework and when he doesn't understand it. And he stays up late learning the math so he can teach me. He sings to Noah when he has nightmares. Terrible singing, but Noah doesn't care. A few people in the courtroom chuckled softly. He bought us clothes and toys and made our rooms nice. He drives me to school every day. And he's always there when I get out. Always waiting. He's never missed a day. Her voice grew stronger. He's never hurt us, never yelled at us, never made us feel scared or bad or worthless. He makes us feel loved. Do you want to stay with him? Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't look away from the judge. He's not my real dad. I know that. But he's the dad I wish I'd always had. He's the dad every kid deserves. Vincent's lawyer stood for cross-examination, but Judge Hendricks held up a hand. I don't think that will be necessary. This child has been through enough. She looked at Lily. Thank you, sweetheart. You can step down. As Lily walked back to her seat, Marcus pulled her into his arms. She was shaking, but she'd done it. She'd told her truth one more time. Patterson stood. Your Honor, I have one final witness. I call Marcus Stone to the stand. Marcus's stomach dropped. They hadn't discussed this, but Patterson's eyes were firm, insistent. Trust me. Marcus took the stand, his heart hammering. Patterson approached with a folder. Mr. Stone, why did you stop for those children on the highway? Because they needed help. Plenty of other cars passed by. Why you? Marcus thought about it. About that moment when he'd heard Lily's screams cutting through his engine's roar. Because I heard a child crying. And I couldn't drive away from that, because somewhere inside me, past all the anger and the mistakes and the wasted years, there was still enough humanity left to care that 2 kids were suffering. You had no legal obligation. You could have called 911 and left. I could have. But that baby was choking. He'd have been dead before help arrived. So you saved his life. I did what anyone should have done. But you didn't just save him that day. You took them home. You took responsibility for 2 children you'd never met. Why? Marcus looked at Lily, at Noah sleeping in Sheriff Morales's arms. Because they needed me. And because I needed them, even though I didn't know it yet. I'd spent 20 years running from connection, from caring, from anything that made me feel. Those kids crashed into my life and made me feel everything. Made me want to be better. Made me believe I could be better. Patterson pulled out a document. Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence Mr. Stone's military records, not the discharge, the commendations. To Bronze Stars, a Purple Heart, multiple citations for valor. This is a man who served his country with honor until he made the mistake of trying to protect innocent civilians. He pulled out another document. I'd also like to enter his testimony from the Desert Wolves case. Mr. Stone turned on his own brothers to help convict 3 men of murder. He knew it would make him a target, knew he'd lose everything, but he did it anyway, because it was right. Mr. Patterson, what's your point? Judge Hendricks asked. My point is that Marcus Stone has spent his life trying to protect people, especially children. He lost his military career protecting children. He lost his club protecting justice. And now he's willing to lose everything again to protect Lily and Noah. That's not the profile of a dangerous man. That's the profile of a hero who's never been recognized as one. Vincent's lawyer jumped up. Objection. This is a character argument, not evidence. It's both, Patterson said. Because character matters. Vincent Chen has money, resources, a clean legal record. But Marcus Stone has something more important. He has genuine love for these children. Not ownership, not pride, not control, love. He turned to Marcus. Final question. If the judge rules against you today, if she gives custody to Vincent Chen, what will you do? Marcus's throat tightened. I'll tell Lily and Noah that I love them, that I fought as hard as I could, that they deserve better than they got, and then I'll walk away because that's what the law requires. He paused. But I'll never stop hoping they're okay. Never stop thinking about them. Never stop wishing I could have done more. Thank you. No further questions. Vincent's lawyer declined to cross-examine. What could she ask that would make Marcus look worse than a man willing to let go of the children he loved if the law demanded it? Judge Hendricks called for a brief recess. 15 minutes that felt like 15 hours. Marcus sat in the hallway with Lily pressed against his side, Noah in his lap, and waited for his world to end or begin. When they returned to the courtroom, Judge Hendricks looked exhausted. This has been an extraordinarily difficult case. On one hand, we have a biological father with substantial resources and a legal claim to his children. On the other hand, we have compelling evidence of past abuse and a current placement where the children are thriving. She paused, looking at her notes. I've read the investigator's report multiple times. I've reviewed every piece of evidence. I've listened to testimony from both sides. And I keep coming back to one question. What serves the best interest of these children? Marcus held his breath. Mr. Chen, I don't doubt that you love your children in your own way. But your history of violence, your pattern of control, and your willingness to manipulate the legal system concerns me greatly. The prenuptial agreement you had your fiancé sign reveals a man who views relationships as transactions. That's not the mindset of a nurturing parent. Vincent's face was turning red. Mr. Stone, you are far from a perfect candidate for guardianship. Your background is concerning. Your resources are limited. And by traditional standards, you have no business raising these children. She paused. But traditional standards don't account for love. They don't measure the fact that Lily's nightmares have decreased by 70% in your care. They don't quantify Noah's developmental progress. They don't factor in that for the first time in years. These children feel safe. Lily's hand found Marcus's. Squeezing. Double quotes. Therefore, I am terminating Vincent Chen's parental rights based on documented abuse and ongoing threats to the children's welfare. I am granting permanent legal guardianship to Marcus Stone, with a path to adoption if he chooses to pursue it. The courtroom erupted. Vincent was shouting. His lawyers were objecting. Diane was demanding appeals. But Judge Hendricks banged her gavel. My decision is final. Mr. Chen, you will have no contact with these children. Any attempt to circumvent this order will result in immediate arrest. Mr. Stone, these children are now legally yours. Don't make me regret this decision. Marcus couldn't speak, couldn't move. Lily threw her arms around his neck, sobbing. Noah started crying too, startled by all the noise. Sheriff Morales was wiping her eyes. Patterson was grinning like he'd just won the lottery. Vincent stood, his face twisted with rage. This isn't over. I'll appeal. I'll take this to every court in the country. Those are my children. Those, Judge Hendricks said coldly, are children who deserve better than you could ever give them. This court is adjourned. Outside the courthouse, Marcus stood in the Arizona sun with two children who were finally, legally, permanently his. Patterson was already on the phone, probably calling every news outlet he could think of. Sheriff Morales was coordinating security, making sure Vincent left peacefully. Marcus looked down at Lily, at Noah, and felt something he hadn't felt in 20 years. Hope. We won, Lily whispered. We really won. Yeah, baby. We really won. Are you going to adopt us? The judge said you could. Marcus knelt down. I level with her. Do you want me to? More than anything. Then yeah, I'm going to adopt you. Both of you. Make it official. Make you mine forever. Lily hugged him so hard, he could barely breathe. And Noah, picking up on the emotion, giggled and grabbed Marcus's beard with both hands. Patterson approached, grinning. You did it, brother. Against all odds, you actually did it. We did it, Marcus corrected. I couldn't have won without you, true, but you're the one who stopped on that highway. You're the one who chose to care when nobody else would. Patterson clapped him on the shoulder. The adoption paperwork will take a few months, but it's a formality at this point. Those kids are yours. Marcus looked at Lily, at Noah, at these two miracles who'd crashed into his life and changed everything. No, he said quietly. I'm theirs. 6 months later, Marcus stood in a courtroom one more time. But this time, there was no Vincent, no lawyers arguing, no fear. Just Judge Hendricks, Patterson, Sheriff Morales, and a few friends who'd become family along the way. Mr. Stone, do you understand the responsibility you're undertaking? Yes, Your Honor. Do you promise to care for, protect, and love Lily and Noah Chen for the rest of your life? Marcus looked at his children, and felt his voice catch. I do. Then by the power vested in me by the state of Arizona, I declare this adoption final and legal. Lily and Noah are now officially Lily Stone and Noah Stone. Congratulations. Lily threw herself at Marcus, laughing and crying at the same time. Noah, now a year old and walking, toddled over and wrapped his arms around Marcus's leg. Dada, he said clearly. My dada. That night, back at the house, not a trailer anymore, but a small 3-bedroom they'd found with Patterson's help. Marcus tucked both kids into their beds. Lily's room was painted purple, her favorite color, with posters of her favorite bands. Noah's was blue with stars on the ceiling that glowed in the dark. Tell us the story, Lily asked, like she did every night. Which one? The one about the scary biker who saved 2 kids on a highway. Marcus smiled. Once upon a time, there was a man who thought he was a monster. He had tattoos and scars and a past full of mistakes. He rode a loud motorcycle and scared people just by existing. But he wasn't really a monster, Lily added. No, he wasn't. He just thought he was, because he'd spent so long being told that. Then one day, he found 2 kids who needed him, and they showed him something important. What did they show him? Noah asked, even though he'd heard this story 100 times. They showed him that sometimes the scariest looking people have the biggest hearts. that family isn't about blood or money or perfection. It's about showing up. It's about choosing to love even when it's hard. It's about being brave enough to let people in. And they lived happily ever after. Lily asked Marcus, thought about the long road ahead, the therapy Lily still needed, the paperwork and court dates, the challenges of raising two kids on a mechanic's salary. It wouldn't be easy. Nothing about this had been easy. But looking at these two faces, these two children who'd saved him as much as he'd saved them, Marcus knew one thing for certain. Yeah, baby, he said softly. They lived happily ever after, not because everything was perfect, but because they had each other. And sometimes that's more than enough. He kissed them both good night, turned off the lights, and walked to his own room. On his dresser sat a photo, the three of them at the adoption hearing, Lily grinning, Noah making a silly face, and Marcus smiling like he'd never smiled before. Beneath it, a piece of paper. Lily's handwriting, careful and neat. My dad is a hero. By Lily Stone. Marcus picked it up, reading words he'd memorized weeks ago. Words about how heroes don't always wear capes or have superpowers. Sometimes they just show up when you need them most. Sometimes they're the ones nobody expects. Sometimes they look like scary bikers with tattoos and broken pasts. Sometimes the best heroes are the ones who've survived their own darkness and choose to be light for others. Marcus set the paper down and looked out the window at the desert night. Somewhere out there, Vincent Chen was probably plotting his next move, planning another appeal, convinced he'd win eventually, but he wouldn't. Because Marcus Stone had something Vincent would never understand. He had love that wasn't about possession or control. He had children who chose him every single day. He had a family built not on biology or obligation, but on the simple, radical act of showing up and refusing to leave. And that, Marcus had learned, was stronger than money, more powerful than lawyers, more enduring than any legal document. That was forever. His phone buzzed. A text from Lily's room. Even though she was supposed to be sleeping. I love you, Dad. Thank you for stopping. Marcus typed back. I love you too, baby. Thank you for letting me. He set his phone down and closed his eyes, finally at peace. The road that had led him here had been long and brutal, paved with mistakes and regrets and losses that still ached in the quiet moments. But every wrong turn, every bad decision, every moment of darkness had led him to that highway, to those two crying children, to this life he never knew he wanted, and he wouldn't change a single mile of it, because sometimes the worst roads lead to the best destinations. Sometimes monsters become heroes, and sometimes a broken man on a motorcycle is exactly the angel two children need.